Hello, hello! Welcome to another episode of History in the Dark. I am your host, Darkness the Curse. And before we begin, as always, thank you so much to my generous patrons, my British Rail critics, and my underwater train finders. You are the reason why this content remains a celebration. And today, you haven't heard that intro in forever. And no, I will not be going back to it as a regular thing, purely because of viewer retention. Apparently, people just don't do intros anymore. But for this particular video, since it's a little bit of a throwback, I decided to do it again. And we are celebrating 100,000 subscribers. Guys, thank you so much. Seriously, this means everything to me right now. I haven't received a plaque yet. I'll gladly show it to you if and when I do receive that. But we are verified. There's a little check mark next to my name on here, so that's neat. So yeah. And this particular video was a suggestion from one of you. I got a very nice email from one of my followers, whose name is Keith, as well as his wife Linda. Apparently they both love my stuff, and they wanted another top 5 list, namely the largest mobile machines. Now, I thought about this, and I'm like, well, mobile machines is kind of vague, so I decided to narrow it down to largest land-based vehicles. And what I mean by that is something that is capable of moving on land. It just has to be able to move across the ground. Not very fast, as none of these can go particularly very fast, but that's what we're working with. So thank you, Keith and Linda. I'm glad you love the content. Since this is a celebration of 100,000 subscribers, I figured I'd take a fan suggestion, which I don't always do, but sometimes I do. It varies. It depends, you know. Also, since I'm actually doing an intro for once, I can do a lame plug. You guys know I have 2 other channels, right? I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. We got Prehistory in the Dark over here, where I talk about prehistory. Well, it's a lot of dinosaurs lately, as you can imagine. The other one's a little weirder. It's called Museum Girls. It's based off of vehicles, but in universe they can turn into animate girls. Yeah, it's listen, don't judge me. It's not as adult-oriented as you might be thinking. I try to keep it educational. It's a whole series with a story and characters and writing. It's fun. It's over there. Both those links to those channels are in the description. They are not nearly as popular as what we do here, so of course this will remain the main focus as it always has been. So today we're going to talk about 5 of the largest land-based vehicles that can move. They have to be able to move. Okay? It's the rule. Dang it. The Caterpillar 797 series. Ooh, this is actually the only one on the list that I am comfortable referring to as a truck. Because, well, it is, but this ain't your grandpa's truck, sonny. The series is technically an off-highway, ultra-class, 2-axle, mechanical powertrain haul truck, developed, as you can imagine, by Caterpillar Incorporated, who are known for their construction equipment, and indeed, the 797 series was designed for those applications. That and mining. They're used a lot in mining operations to haul a bunch of really heavy things away, mostly earth. There's a lot of earth. There's so much earth. The current generation model, which is the third, 797F, has a payload capacity of up to 363 tons. Yo, okay. And yeah, they're really, really big. The F model uses an engine that supplies 4,000 horsepower, which wouldn't be a tremendous amount if this were a locomotive. But this is a truck. And yeah, it's they're huge, just enormous. Even the tires are bigger than some cars. They're not street legal. You actually have to transport them in parts to different sites, requiring 6 to 7 semi-trailer truckloads to move them. They need 6 or 7 semi-trucks to move this one truck, is what I'm trying to say. It's ridiculous. But they are tremendously useful once they're actually at the job site, because they're just really, really big dump trucks, basically. They can put a bunch of stuff in their bucket, and they can move it. That's their one job, and they're really good at that. Additionally, this is actually the only vehicle on this list that you could, in theory, get a hold of yourself if you really wanted to, I guess. It's just gonna cost you about, $3,400,000 at minimum. But that's for a used model. A brand new one's about $5 million. They're not cheap at all. So, $500 million for a truck, not really something I would be comfortable paying. But then again, it is a really big truck. But then what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? It's a serious question. I don't know. I'd probably drive it somewhere. I'd find a place. It's just because. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But this is only number 5. We gotta go even bigger. Big Muskie. Ooh, she has a name? Awesome! Big Muskie was a dragline excavator that was built by Bucyrus. I think it's Bucyrus. Erie, and owned by the Central Ohio Coal Company. Indeed, she was meant for mining operations since she is an excavator. But excavators can move across the ground, and Muskie was... Yo! The heck is that? That's the kaiju of excavators, alright. Officially, she is, in fact, the largest walking dragline ever built. And she was one of a kind. Her bucket alone was 220 cubic yards, 170 meters cubed. If those numbers don't mean anything to you, she could hold 2 Greyhound buses in her bucket side by side. Okay, she took approximately 200,000 man-hours to build over a period of 2 years and cost $25 million in 1969, equivalent to about $214 million today, which is actually still a lot cheaper than I would have guessed personally. And Muskie's also one of the reasons why I decided not to say that all these vehicles had to be able to move under their own power. They should be able to move, but not under their own power. Because she didn't actually move under her own power. She was powered by electricity, supplied by a cable. So yes, you had to plug her in, basically. But, despite being for coal mining, that's actually remarkably environmentally conscious. She was all electric. That's pretty cool. She did have some hydraulic systems, but those were powered from her electric motors, so, And even though she had to be plugged in, she could still move. Once she finished working in one area, she could move short distances to a different area and begin working again. Generally, she never moved more than a mile, because she was not fast at all. She could move 0.1 miles per hour. Not even a whole mile per hour, 0.1. She was very slow, but she could do it. And she did her job faithfully for about 22 years. In that time, she moved approximately 608 million cubic yards of overburden, which is what she was designed to move. Overburden is the material that lies above an area that lends itself to economic exploitation. Basically, it's a lot of dirt. Regular dirt. That happens to be between the miners and, say, in this case, coal. But Muskie would eventually fall out of use, for a few reasons. Additional EPA standards pushed against the strip mining that she was designed to actually do. Even though she herself didn't produce any emissions, coal is pretty filthy, let's be fair. And coal itself started being less popular as the decades wore on. Eventually, she became unprofitable to operate, and though they did try to sell her, the problem was no one really wanted her at the time. She was too big for most museums, for example, and other coal companies didn't want her due to the tremendous amount of money it would cost to actually move her. Plus, by 1991, when she was officially retired, Most coal companies weren't even doing open pit mining anymore, because, again, EPA, and it was frowned upon generally. No strip mining, no nothing that Big Muskie was actually meant to do, so they didn't even have a use for her. She sat alone, inoperative, for about 8 years, and her final fate was sealed in 1999, with both the state of Ohio and the EPA started enforcing what was called the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act. This act requires that all equipment be removed from former strip mining operations so the sites could be environmentally remediated. Since Muskie was in the way of this, she had to be removed. There was an attempt to save her, as she had many fans believing that she should be preserved, made into a whole museum all on her own, but that simply never happened, and she was sadly scrapped. But her bucket survives. It was moved to a land park, which in the modern day is called the Miners' Memorial Park, meant to honor all miners who lost their lives while working in such a dangerous profession. On top of that, another wildlife park, now called the Wilds, which originally opened in 1994, was created from 10,000 acres of land that was stripped by Big Muskie and then reclaimed by nature. So despite the fact that this big Chungus machine is no longer with us, her legacy certainly lives on. The Crawler Transporters. Oh yes, plural! There's more than one! And we could thank our fine friends over at NASA for this, though they were actually manufactured by the Marion Power Shovel Company. The Crawler Transporters are very, very slow, diesel-driven transport vehicles, designed to transport something very, very specific. Rockets! All sorts of rockets. The Saturn V's for the Apollo program, the space shuttles between 1981 and 2011. If NASA's launched it, the Crawler Transporters probably moved it, because they are big chunks. How many times am I going to use that joke in this video? As you can imagine, given their size, they cannot go very fast, but they don't need to, because they just need to get the rocket out to the launch pad. And they are perfectly capable of doing this, and done it for decades. They're tremendously good at what they're for. Fun fact, they're actually driven by Alco diesel engines. Yeah! That's neat for all my rail fans out there. Indeed, they use two V16 251C diesel engines. Each of those drive four 1,000 kilowatt generators for traction purposes. But that's just for the main power. They also have an additional pair of 794 kilowatt engines that drive two 750 kilowatt generators that power the auxiliaries, like the jacking, steering, lighting, and ventilating stuff on these things. They have a length of 40 meters, 131 feet, a width of 35 meters, 114 feet, and their height is adjustable. Yeah, they can go up and down. That's neat. Between 6 and 8 meters, 20 to 26 feet. Both are officially on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places, even though they move around, because they can do that, and they have names. Hans and Franz.
I'm Hans.
And I'm Franz.
And we want to pump you up.
Speaking of the Europeans, actually, the Bagger 293, previously known as the MAN Takraf 4RB293. I'm just going to call her Bagger, I think is what we're going to do. And you might have seen this picture before, probably on Facebook or something, and everyone in the comments saying, fake, fake, it's AI, such a bad AI image, God, Photoshop, fake! It's not fake. That's a real thing. Who built something like that? It looks like a supervillain's ultimate weapon. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense now. Anyway, the Germans saw fit to produce this monstrosity. Actually, several of them. There are more than one Baggers out there. 293 is just one example, built in 1999. But 281 was built in 58, 285 in 75, 287 in 76, 288 in 78, and 291 in 1993. All of them are way beyond unreasonably large. But similarly to Big Muskie, They are meant for mining operations. Unlike a traditional bucket crane, however, they utilize a blade. Okay, it's not really a blade. It looks like some kind of buzzsaw, but those are buckets. Each one is 21 meters in diameter and features a total of 20 individual buckets, each holding 19.6 cubic yards, 15 meters cubed of stuff. Generally overburdened, but yeah, they're, that's a lot, but they are pretty useful in coal mines and can indeed move across the ground, believe it or not, at a speed of about, 0.1 kilometers an hour. That's about 2 to 10 meters per minute, or 6.6 to 32.8 feet per minute. So not fast, but they can do it. Can move on 12 caterpillar tracks. And though she does have a single 6,413 kilowatt electric motor, 1,600 horsepower, she also has an external coal plant powering her. Yes, really, which goes up to 13,611 horsepower. So okay, that's a thing. But mining operations over in Germany definitely do get a lot of use out of these blasted things, as crazy as they may look. An interesting fun fact about them: they have a really small crew size, despite how huge they are. Because, these things weigh over 31 million pounds, a length of 225 meters, a beam of 46 meters, a height of 96 meters. They only have a crew of 5. Yeah, they're really efficient in that way. That's really impressive, given all the moving parts and just how big they are. Ships half the size of these have larger crews than that. Go figure. Officially, according to the Guinness Book of World Records anyway, they are considered the second largest ground vehicle ever built. Second? What the heck is bigger than these? The Overburden Conveyor Bridge F-60! Big! Chungus! Who the heck built this giant monstrosity? Of course you did! The F-60 family, because there were a total of 5. Yes, really, 5 of these ridiculous things constructed, is a overburden conveyor bridge meant to assist in brown coal open-cast mining in the Lucischen coal fields over in Germany. They were constructed by Volkswagen Betrieb Takraft in Lochhammer. Very German, I love it. And are considered the largest movable technical industrial machines in the world, therefore making them applicable to this list. They weigh approximately 30 million pounds, 13,600 tons. They have a length of 502 meters, 1,647 feet, a beam of 241 meters, 790 feet, a height of 79 meters, 260 feet, and have an installed power setup of 1,342.26 kilowatt Siemens Type 1 DM6536 4AA14Z powered electric motors. Also, an external coal power plant featuring a single 24.4 megawatt, 32,721 horsepower supply of energy. Unspeakable power! But how does something like this, just nonsense, actually move? Well, if you want to get real technical, this is a locomotive. Yeah. I guess not in the traditional sense, obviously, but it moves via rails. It does not move across the ground. Now you might be saying, isn't that kind of cheating? To which I say, shut up, okay? I needed to talk about this. You want me to talk about this. Don't pretend that you don't. Alright? It uses 2 rails and technically only 2 bogies. But The combined bogies feature 760 individual wheels. So, it's not the traditional two-bogey setup, is what I'm trying to say. But it does move, and it does move the Earth, and it does do its job. They are beasts. Absolutely insane. And out of the 5, one of them is still preserved? Yeah! The one located at Lichterfeld, who I'm just gonna call Licky, I guess. I don't know. That was a pretty bad name. Let's call her Daisy instead. I like Daisy. Daisy is preserved as the mine she was working at, was just, well, it was decided to turn the whole thing into a big tourist attraction. She's unique, obviously, and the whole thing has been converted into what's called a visitor's mine, with she herself being accessible since 1998. So, yeah, you can go see the largest land vehicle ever constructed in the world, who I'm naming Daisy. Because I decided to. And I am the authority on naming random vehicles, so, you can't argue with me. You're not allowed. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.